question, the member from Chatham-Kent, Essex.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, before I begin, I just would like to congratulate you on your re-election as Speaker of the House.
Very, very good.
My question is to the Premier. Premier, as the election began, Chief Electoral Officer Greg Essinga repeated his call for a limit on third-party advertising. Mr. Essinga stated, and I quote, "When I look across the country, we are the only jurisdiction that has no spending limit." He went on to say the process is completely non-transparent. We may never know just how much these groups spent. Dalton McGuinty's 05 and 07 legislation added little transparency, leaving the Chief Electoral Officer asking for more reforms. Premier, this is your chance to prove to the people of Ontario that you are different. And since you are in an open and transparent mood today, are you willing to protect the integrity of democracy and place limits on third-party advertising spending?
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and I appreciate the question from the member of the opposition, and I endeavour always to be in an open and transparent mood. So thank you very much. So, Mr. Speaker, we have rules in place to ensure that there's both transparency and free speech in our election campaigns, and those things have to be balanced. And we are the party that introduced third-party advertising rules in Ontario for the first time in 2007, Mr. Speaker. And under current rules, third parties that spend $500 or more on election advertising are required to register with the Chief Electoral Officer, so that there actually is an accounting for how that money is spent. And registered third parties also have to report to the Chief Electoral Officer on election advertising expenses. If election advertising expenses are $5,000 or more, then those reports have to be audited. Mr. Speaker, so we have taken many steps to make sure that there is openness in this process.
Thank you. Supplementary.
Thank you, Speaker. Well, Premier, that's the same answer you gave me in the fall when I introduced my Bill 101. But you know, Speaker, we are the only jurisdiction in Canada that has no spending limitation on advertisers that have the power to influence elections. That jeopardizes the integrity of this institution and is a disservice to our democracy. The Chief Electoral Officer recommends that no group should be able to spend millions of dollars to influence elections without any transparency, and, Premier, we agree. The status quo is setting the stage for corruption. Premier, will you implement the Chief Electoral Officer's recommendations?
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Well, let me just say that I disagree that there is no transparency, because I think that there have been steps taken by our government to put in place transparency. But having said that, Mr. Speaker, we're always open to conversations on ways to improve Ontario's electoral process. Third parties supported all three parties during the election campaign, Mr. Speaker. So there's not a difference in terms of the treatment party by party. But if there is a willingness and a desire on the part of all parties and the Chief Electoral Officer to have a conversation, we're open to having that conversation, Mr. Speaker. But I think it's something that everyone needs to take part in.
Thank you. New question.